Welcome back to Spring in Math 8. We're on Chapter 9, Lesson 4. And today we're going to continue our conversation about functions, but we're going to learn something new. And we're going to compare some functions together. So let's get started. Here's a few things we should know when we're thinking about this lesson. Sometimes there are stipulations where you want to compare two different things or two different functions, and we're going to look at that today. When comparing functions, they do not always give them to you in the same format. Sometimes they're going to give them to you in a graph, sometimes you might see them in a table, and you may even see them listed in a word problem. And you're going to have to pull them out and make sure that you're able to compare them. And when comparing the rate of change is really just slope. So we're going to be going back to that slope formula we've used over and over this year, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's compare these functions, and the question it's asking us is which has a greater rate of change, or a greater slope. The first function here is listed as y equals 3x plus 5. That's pretty simple for us to pull the slope out of. However, our second function is listed in a table, and we have x values of -2, 0, and 4, and our y values are -4, -2, and 2. So we're going to use this information to compare these two functions. So the first function, let's look at that one since it's already in a nice, easy format for us. It's in that y equals mx plus b. So we have y equals 3x plus 5. We use what we know about slope and mx plus b. And the number in front of x is always going to be the slope no matter what. And in this case, we have a 3 in front of the x, so we can say that the slope of this first function is positive 3. Now, function 2 was given to us in a nice data table. So we need to use two of those coordinates, plug them in to our slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, for us to figure out what that slope is going to be for that specific function, and then we can compare the two. So I'm going to use the coordinates -2, -4, and 0, -2. Now I've inserted them for us here. I have -2 minus -4 over 0 minus -2. Now, that reduces down to 2 over 2, and then we all know that 2 divided by 2 gives us a nice whole number of 1. So our first function had a slope of 3, and our second function has a slope of 1. So function 1 has a greater rate of change, or a larger slope. And I've compared them using down at the bottom. 3 is greater than 1. So let's look at another example. So we're going to compare some more functions and decide which one has a negative slope. So here's the first function for us. Alan starts with $30 this week. He spends $5.30 per week. Let y be the remaining value and x be the number of weeks. So I've made a data table here for us below, or a function table. I have the x values of 0, 1, 2, and 3, and those are the number of weeks that have gone by. And y is watching his money amount change that he has. So he starts with 30, and he ends up by week 3 at $14.10 because he's spending money every week. Function 2 is about a car shop that rents cars for people who travel. So we have the car shop rents for $10 per day, but there's a $30 non-refundable fee. So we wrote the function here at the bottom. Car, or C, equals $10, 10D, or $10 per day, plus that $30 that's non-refundable. So let's think about explaining function 1. We're going to use that slope formula and pull out some coordinates from that data table. I've done so. I have 24.70 minus 30 over 1 minus 0, based on the two coordinates that I pulled off that function table. And that results in negative $5.30 over 1, or it has a negative slope of 5.3. Now remember, we are looking for which one has a greater negative slope. Function 2. We can see here that we know using the y equals mx plus b format that 10, the number in front of d, is going to be our slope. In this case, the slope of this function is 10. Now, the original function we looked at, the boy named Alan was spending his money every week, so the money he was having got less and less over time. He had a negative slope of $5.30, and this function here, number 2, had a positive slope of 10. So we can say that function number 1 is the one with a negative slope. That's it for today's lesson. Catch you in the next one.